Alright guys, it's Jahlon, and today it's Real Talk on Ashes of Creation. Real Talk is a new program we're putting together. It's just different content creators giving a opinion or a viewpoint on a different topic. It's like a podcast with a twist. There's no playing off each other in a dialogue. We don't even know what the other guys are going to say until we put the video segments into post-production. So today's segment, we're going to talk about combat in Ashes of Creation, and oh boy, let me tell you, there are a ton of things I could talk about, but we are on the clock. We only got a couple of minutes. I want to talk about the hybrid system and that Intrepid has taken a big old bite out of development. Most seasoned studios don't try to tackle hybrid combat. The only people who have ever gotten it right is Guild Wars 2. That is a pretty functional hybrid system. If you want to see an example of bad, Revelation Online, they have a weird sort of you can play any character as action or tab or mix. That's just bad. That's not what we wanted. Now I'm going to tell you that from the very beginning, I have hated the idea of hybrid combat. I hate action combat, but that's my bias. That's my personal preference. And I'm going to say, even with that bias, all of the testing I've done for Ashes of Creation has turned out feeling pretty good. Alpha 0 back in December of 2018, I'm going to be honest, that felt more polished than some games that release. So right away, I knew they were going to be able to do a good tab target game. I got really worried in the fall of 2018 when Apocalypse was in closed testing. There were a lot of bugs, a lot of hitbox issues, hit scan, projectile, floaty combat. It was bad. By December of 2018, it was pretty good. I mean, I was having fun with it. Shh, don't tell Intrepid. Now, by the time they re-released that in August of 2019, yeah, that was feeling pretty solid. You know, I was enjoying myself. I was getting wins, and if you're playing it enough to get good enough to get wins, it must be pretty good. Now, I am going to say until last week in the August live stream, I was hoping secretly Steven was going to pull out the card and say, all right, guys, execute Order 66, cancel the action side, we're going straight tab. But however, we saw that video that he showed in the filler attacks being action and your left mouse button. The different weapons are going to have different attack ranges. And even in action combat, you're going to be able to right mouse button on a target and still throw your tab abilities. That's pretty good. I am going to say though, I'm not sold yet. I don't want you guys to think that this is just Jay putting his hands up saying, oh yeah, trust the combat. The combat's gonna work good. Don't worry about the combat. Stay worried about the combat. I'm still worried about the combat. Until I'm 100% sold, I'm not gonna expect you guys to be sold. I gotta go hands-on with it in Alpha 1. I need to have a lot more. I need to know about classes. I need to know about augments. I need to know about those weapons distances. So I'm not sold. I don't want you to be sold. Keep me honest. Don't let me move and be like the fanboy and say the combat is great. But that's just my take on it. I wonder what the big cheek giant has to say about combat and Ashes of Creation.
Thank you, Jay. So today we're going to talk about the combat system. Apparently that is a hot topic because a lot of people, you know, they want that action combat and, you know, some want the tab targeting, and honestly, and I don't know why I talk so funny, because I think this whole topic is kind of over-talked. I honestly don't care if it's tab targeting or action combat. If it's hybrid, if it's 75-25, 70-30, 50-50, if it's a Super Saiyan or, I don't know, Power Ranger that fights, I honestly don't care. For me personally, there is way more important stuff that goes into an MMORPG than just, you know, combat system. Because I hear people on Reddit and people on the Discord talking about, oh yeah, you know, combat system, that's like 50% of the whole game. And I'm like sitting like here, I'm like, are we talking about an MMORPG or are we talking about Tekken Tech tournament? Because you can have the best looking, the best feeling, the most rewarding combat system in the world, but if the content you do with said combat system is shit, excuse my language, but if it's, you know, sucks, your combat system is gonna feel unrewarding. So A combat system for me needs to be fun, it needs to be fitting. It needs to feel rewarding, you know. It needs to feel like, you know, if you got a crit, you know, it needs to feel like you just did a lot of damage. Not like crits are like bang, bang, bang. You shoot them out like some sort of super soaker. And so yeah, so for me with Ashes, the combat system right now is really early. I don't care if, you know, how it currently looks. What I care more about, what is more important for me, is the transition between tap and action combat, because all you have to do is press one button. And I can think of a bunch of scenarios where I think like, okay, this scenario, this situation, tap targeting might be better. Large scale PvP, a lot of stuff going on. I want to keep track of my target because I'm mostly going to play a caster class. So I just tap target and you can go where you want. I still have them locked. So, you know, or if I play during, you know, a siege in a choke point, I go more action combat side, because now, you know, it's a choke point and I want to, you know, focus on my damage on one particular point. So, you know, it's kind of, I'm kind of more worried in that direction. Like, I honestly, like I said, I don't care if it's action combat or tap targeting. So I need to see, what I want to know is, you know, the balance, you know, the balance between both. And how is that gonna end up? But yeah, guys, I kind of wonder what Wandering Mist has to say, so he's up next. Peace!
Thanks, BCG. Wandering Mist here. Let's talk about action combat and the hybrid system. I really like what we've seen so far. I think that they've approached a lot of the problems that I potentially saw really well, particularly when it came to being able to use tab target abilities while you're in the action targeting mode. I think what they've done there with being able to target, select if mobs with a click, even in action mode, I think is really great. It's one of my big gripes about ESO, that you can't do that. So I really like that, that's great. Obviously, the pressing the Z to swap between the two, that will be changed, I think, for a lot of people, myself included. I can't use Z for anything on my keyboard. It's yeah, not going to happen. So hopefully we can rebind that. The cleaving on all the weapons. I like the fact that they're differentiating between the weapons with the cleaving, with the arc, depending on which weapon you use. So bigger weapons like a spear or a big sword would have a larger radius than a dagger. Absolutely fine with that. It does make me wonder though how this will affect tanking, because usually in tanking you kind of have to attack each mob individually, but here we have the cleaving, so you can attack them all at once. It will make AoE tanking and in fact AoE damage dealing a lot easier, so we'll have to see how that works out in practice. The other thing I noticed is that it appears right now that if you're in action combat mode and you attack a target that you're not currently targeting, the target will be locked onto whatever you're attacking. So that's something to keep in mind, especially with the cleaving. Don't know how that's going to work, honestly. We'll have to look at that, but I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll get that right, and it should be quite a smooth experience. I don't know how often I'll be switching between tab and action targeting. I will probably... I was thinking mostly I would go tab target, but I don't know, it really depends on the abilities. One other thing that I'm curious to see how they're going to balance around and work around is, they said that some skills may start off as tab target, but then if you assign skill points to them, they may become action target based. So again, we'll see how that works. So far, I'm cautiously optimistic, and I will be very interested to see what happens going forwards. Yeah, testing, that's pretty much what it comes down to. So yeah, that's about it for me. Let's pass it on to Jakuta and see what he has to say about the hybrid combat system so far. Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.
Hey everyone, Jakuta here. So the combat system is today's topic today, huh? Something very near and dear to my heart as an avid PvPer, and a feature that can potentially make or break a game on a lot of people's eyes. As mentioned, I am a PvPer through and through. I love to PvP, and I've done so since I first played MMOs. I've played with tab target, I've played with action, and I've played a couple games with hybrid systems. And although I personally love action combat as it feels more rewarding and engaging to play with, I love the stance that Intrepid's going with the hybrid system. From what we know about Ashes of Creation, it will follow more of a Guild Wars 2 suit where you can push a button and swap between action and tab target. However, there will be a 75-25% split that we all know, and in Ashes of Creation there might be skills where you have a tab target skill at rank 1, but you rank it up to 3 and it might become an action skill. So you have to be conscientious on how you want to level up your skills, and if you want to go with a primarily tab kind of build, you have to kind of build it around that and just kind of like read everything out. I think that personally this system is the best for an MMO like Ashes because, let's face it, there's plenty of people who strictly love either tab or they strictly love action, and giving players the choice to choose how they want to primarily play is huge nowadays. Not everyone is in their late teens or early 20s that have the reaction time of a gun going off. Many of the MMO community are older and grew up playing games like EverQuest or Lineage or even World of Warcraft and thoroughly love the old tested, tried and true tab target scene. I personally will take the 75% action combat with the 25% tab target route because that's my personal preference. I like playing assassin-like classes that are fast-paced, and generally with those classes and that playstyle, there's a clear advantage to using an action combat model. Now, on that topic, do I think that there should be an advantage to using action combat over tab? Yes, I personally do, so long as it's within reason. I do think that there should be a benefit to playing with action combat because overall it is a harder system to master. It requires aiming, it requires positioning, and it requires more of a skill wall to grow and climb to get up to that higher skill bracket. Tab target players will always have you selected and can run around pressing their buttons, shooting them out, and always land unless it's a telegraphed skill or the skill itself can be dodged. Now, of course, it is still early days, and Intrepid could potentially change everything. Maybe the community doesn't like the hybrid system and they end up changing it to a tab system overall. Would I personally be upset? Sure, a little bit, because that's not necessarily the combat system that I like. But it doesn't mean I can't adjust to play like that. In the end, I'm here to support and play a project that I personally think will go above and beyond my expectations and be a game that we can all call home. I think overall, Intrepid's making a smart choice with going with a hybrid system as it's catering to more than just one crowd. It allows fans of any combat system to take part and not feel like a complete outsider. Do you guys agree? Let us know what you think below, and I hope you all take care. It's time for me to pass it on back to Jahlon.
Can you believe he said that? I cannot believe he said that. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what they said. I haven't seen this yet. We're still filming, and then we got to put it through post-production. But that will do it for this episode of Real Talk. Next week, we're going to talk about the Cash Shop cosmetics. Are they too good? Do they disrupt this visual progression people keep talking about? Should things only look good if they're earned in-game? Are people worried that things that are earned in-game aren't going to look as good as the Cash Shop? We're going to tackle all of these issues next week, and you're going to find that video on the Big Cheeked Giants YouTube channel because we passed this series around between us. You guys take care, and I will see you in the next episode.